Hey everybody, welcome to SwJ. Today we are going to be talking about motivation. How to keep your motivation while you are doing, well, pretty much anything. But in this instance, we're going to be talking about exercise. And we're going to be continuing on my patch on my 20-plus-year-old jeans. So we'll throw a first stitch into there and we will get on with the good news. So ways to improve your motivation. With pretty much anything, you can improve your motivation in a number of different ways. And we're just going to use exercise as kind of the subject for today. And the first thing you can do when you're trying to find motivation is identify why you're doing what you're doing. So why do you want to exercise? Are you feeling sluggish? Did your doctor tell you that you need to do something? Do you have an injury? Are your kids saying, hey, you need to get your butt off the couch? Are you just looking in the mirror, not being satisfied? What's your motivation? Find your reason and keep that reason in mind. Because if you're just saying, oh, I'm exercising because the world thinks I should, that's not a really good motivator unless you're one of those people who wants to please the entire world. Not everybody is like that. So another thing you can do is motivation with anything, in this case exercise, is to exercise with others. If you're looking for motivation to do something, do it with someone else, because then there is accountability. One of the biggest things with motivation isn't necessarily motivation, it is motivation. It's kind of motivation out of not wanting to disappoint someone else, which is a very big thing for people who don't really have a whole lot of self-worth. If why I'm not worth it, but I want to make sure that my friend does it because she's worth it. Well, then who cares why you get the motivation as long as you have the motivation? If you're improving yourself, you're going to have an improved self-worth, and then eventually you will want to do it for yourself because you deserve it. It's hard for some people to find that in themselves, so if you can find an external motivator, and that being your friends, then great. Accountability is one of the, I think, most important things in exercise, because if you set out something and the only person that you're accountable to is yourself, or to no one really, then it's a lot harder to stick to it. The gumption levels tend to drop pretty quickly when you don't have any sort of accountability. Your accountability can be personal, though. Like if you set a base for yourself and say, I have to be able to do 20 push-ups, let's say, just as a number, without stopping, and if I can't do that, then that's my accountability. Well, then you test yourself, and make sure that you stay to that standard. But the accountability is there because it's in the testing. Another thing you can do is conditional rewards. Like you can say, for a lot of people these days, you don't get to smoke that joint until you do your exercises. That would be a big motivator for a lot of people. And that's, a lot of people use that as motivation just to get through their day. At the end of the day, I've got, a beer waiting for me at home, a nice cold beer in the fridge, or this sweet joint that I picked up the other night at the dispensary. And it's all motivation, and I say all positive motivation, because you are working towards something, and anytime you can do that, it's helping you work towards your goals. So I'm switching over. I'm actually going to sew all the way along each side of this seam to just kind of reinforce it, keep it from opening up, make it getting too messy. So we're just going to go along Get a stitch right along the edge, do a blanket stitch so that it grabs. Bunch of material. Now, number 4, ways to motivate yourself. Going back to accountability, use a fitness tracker. If you can't be accountable to yourself, be accountable to a little electronic device that buzzes on your arm that tells you go and do something. And it's motivation. It's like, okay, if I don't do this, then there is a record that I have not done this, because it will track you. That's a fitness tracker. It will tell you the reason that you have not lost weight is because you didn't do these exercises. And it's robotic. It's cut and dry. It's like, if it didn't happen, then you're screwed, unless you cheat it, and then you're just cheating yourself. Another way to keep your motivation is to have a routine. Exercise at the same time. And for exercise, the best time to do it is in the morning when you have energy. If you don't have energy in the morning, that is probably the most energy you're going to have all day anyway, so just go and do it. If you don't exercise, your energy levels are just going to keep dropping, so that you won't be able to exercise anymore. Eventually you just stop, and stopping doesn't get you anywhere, and when you stop playing, you get old. When you stop doing things, that's when you get old, that's when you age, that's when things stop working, and that's when you die. So, fear of death, another motivator. No, we're not putting that one on the list. But it's back there. It's always back there. Another thing you can do to keep motivation is do activities that you actually enjoy. Find things that you actually like doing. Like for me, I tried jogging, I tried running, and I absolutely despise it. Every second that I'm out there, everything just hurts, and I feel like I'm dying. And there's nothing positive about it for me, aside from noticing that I can do more over time. And that just, I guess, wasn't enough for me. And for a lot of people, they just need to find things that they actually enjoy doing. And I'm working on getting a basketball net set up. I'm hoping that that's going to be some motivation for me to get out and, expend some energy. Even if I'm just out shooting around, you're still chasing after the ball, you're still moving quicker, more precisely than you usually do. Your hand-eye coordination is being tested, your eyes are staying sharper, everything is, you're testing your body. Anytime that you do a sport or anything like that, you're testing your body. And for me, if it's a sport, it can keep my interest. If it's just an exercise for the sake of exercise, I just can't bring myself to stay motivated a lot of the time. So for me, that's a huge one. Doing something that you actually enjoy. Number 7, if you're just getting into exercising, or you just don't like it and can't get into it, try easing into it. Like if you're the type of person that's like, okay, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna run, till I drop every single time, you're gonna hurt yourself. And that's another thing that I did. So then you'll be faced with the issues that you're injured and you're not exercising because you're injured, and then once you want to get back on it, then it's that much harder, and then if you just keep pushing, you're just going to hurt yourself again, and it's a vicious circle, and you'll just end up injured and out of shape. So ease into it. Don't expect too much when you first start out, because you are at the physical level that you are really at. You're not where you think you are. So you need to find out where you're at, ease into it slowly, and then work on gains from there. And even if that is going from, taking 5 shots on the basketball net without stopping, and then, take a break and keep going, or whatever it may be that you're doing, just set little benchmarks for yourself. Always play against yourself. Cheers. if you make it a game, if you can make it a game against yourself, that's awesome. Like for me, the only way that I kept my motivation for jogging was I turned it into a competition for myself. Anytime that I didn't beat my personal best, I would run another same distance that I just did. So if I wasn't getting faster, I was working out twice as much. And Crazy Motivator worked well until I plateaued, and then I wasn't getting better, and just gave up. So such is life sometimes. Now, number 8 on the list, a lot of people are very musically motivated. So if you are exercising, try to incorporate music into it somehow. If you can have the tunes going and you're doing whatever, then so much better. Because it'll give you the beat, it'll give you the movement, it'll keep you going. Like when I was jogging, I had to have music. That was one of the only ways that I would get through anything. Is I found music that had a certain beat per minute range that matched my pace, and I would run literally to the music. And in between songs, or if all of a sudden, something went wrong with my electronic device or whatever, it was just crushing. It gets you completely out of what you were doing, and the only way to get that back was to have the music running in your head. Or the other one was just counting, like doing military counting steps. Doing like your left, right, left, that thing. That gets you back into it. Anything musical, anything rhythmic, anything motivating really seems to help me anyway. Now, number 9 on this list makes a huge assumption that you are comfortable with dogs. I know from personal experience that many people are not comfortable with dogs, and so take this one with a grain of salt if you're one of those people. And the advice is to walk a dog, because people tend to, when they have an animal that they're responsible for, they tend to feel more connected to the community, and you're forced to go out on walks because the dog has its needs. It needs to exercise, it needs to use the toilet, it needs to, be walked. You need to walk your dog. So that is one motivational. It's kind of like working out with a friend. It's accountability. It's accountability in a pretty extreme way, because you are accountable for this other being's well-being. So another thing for people who can't motivate themselves, you have a dog, then you can have the motivation that you have to take the dog for a walk. And the other thing that you can do is to commit financially to an exercise plan. And that's basically saying to yourself, if I don't do X, I have to donate X to charity, or donate X to whatever, or I don't get to buy X, or that sort of thing. Actually make a financial commitment to it, and if you're the type of person that money rules everything, there's your motivation, there's your financial commitment, and stick to it. Don't cheat yourself, because if you say, hey, I'm going to do this to myself, if I don't, you lay out the consequences to yourself, and all of a sudden you don't follow through, that's like you're raising yourself to be a very terrible, abusive, boundary pushing toddler. So if you're going to discipline yourself, discipline yourself. That's why it's called discipline. It's not called, oh, I might do this. And so make a financial commitment, make that financial commitment with someone else or to someone else. Bet someone, hey, I bet you I can do X for this long, or I'll give you $100, So and it's the thing with this is you're gonna try and you're gonna fail. It's odds are if you've failed with stuff like this in the past, don't give up. Don't give up, because you'll find something will motivate you to move. Um, and those things may change over time too. You know, some things you might get tired of after a while. You know, you do a sport for a while, try something else. You know, keep it fresh. Don't let your exercising get stale. It'll help you improve, because every sport um, exercises your body in a different way. So you know, you say you can tell what sport an Olympic athlete is just by looking at their build a lot of the time, and you know, sometimes that's true. Sometimes, uh, but yeah, if you let a sport shape you, switch sports every once in a while so that your body stays, oh, how can I say this, balanced. Because if you do a sport that involves entirely your legs, after a while you're going to have massive legs and no upper body. And same thing the other way around. If you work out in such a way, one of your sports uses a lot of upper body strength, like let's say arm wrestling, then you got to remember to do leg day. You got to have something that exercises your legs. Unless you're okay. Now this gets into an entire different world of competition, but with competitive arm wrestling, you want to keep your weight down, so then you don't want to do leg day, so that you can concentrate on your upper body. But you still need a strong core, because your core anchors everything. So a lot of people in arm wrestling won't do a lot of leg work, so they keep their weight down, because it's weight class based, you know. So if you're serious about it, you gotta watch your weight. Gotta keep the weight down. That was my biggest drawback in arm wrestling, I think. Well, not the fact that I didn't train either, but I love doing it. I love the practices. I love the camaraderie, and the tournaments were really fun. Talk about an adrenaline rush. Enter an arm wrestling tournament. But it was all weight classes, and back then I was puffy. I was very puffy. I was about 230, 235, and that put me in the mega class, like the big boys class. And my frame is more in like middle or heavyweight class. So if I could have gotten down to around 190, which is where I sat for quite a while. I think I'm somewhere around 200 now. But if I could have been around 190, I think I would have only had to cut to 182 or 183, I think is where the cutoff was. And I could have been in a much lighter weight class, and I probably would have done quite a bit better. But I was up against all the monsters, and that made it tough. I did well, I think, I shouldn't say I did well. I did well for me. For the effort that I put into it, I think I did well. I had decent technique and decent strength, and that adds up. But I wasn't serious about it. You know, I didn't train. I didn't whatever. It was just something that I'd go and enter, just hang out at the practices and pull with the guys, and you know, work on technique, and then go and you know, it was the same thing. It was the same guys a lot of the time, and you just go and pull. That's what they call arm wrestling, pulling. And it was a great time. Lost my pin cushion again. There it is. Yeah, it takes a long time to develop positive habits. So stick with it, stay positive. I'm gonna tie this off so that we actually finish this patch off this episode. Bear with me a moment. We'll pull some pins, and then we'll carry on with our day. So thanks so much for joining me. I do really appreciate the time we get to spend together. You know, it gives me some time to do my sewing. Lately, you know, with the shorter episodes, I'm not getting as much sewing in. It's also been a very busy time. I've missed a couple episodes, as you may have noticed lately. And yeah, so it's just trying to find that life balance is tough sometimes. And yeah, so pull the remaining pins on this patch. And there it is from the outside. That's what you'll see from the outside and the back. That's not too bad. Inside, yeah, I like it. I'm happy with it. And my jeans get to live on. So there are more patches on, or more places on these that need some patching, but yeah, they are wearable. So thanks a lot for joining me. Do appreciate the time we spend together. Till next time, keep chilling. Don't forget your cookie. Peace.